teachers at this primary school in China
蓝色是走神了，
know exactly when someone isn't paying attention.
白色就是你可能跟网络还没有连接好。
These headbands measure each student's level of concentration. The information is then directly sent to the teacher's computer and to parents. China has big plans to become a global leader in artificial intelligence. It has enabled a cashless economy where people make purchases with their faces. A giant network of surveillance cameras with facial recognition helps police monitor citizens. Meanwhile, some schools offer glimpses of what the future of high-tech education in the country might look like.
做出选择吧 Good job!
Classrooms have robots that analyze students' health and engagement levels. Students wear uniforms with chips that track their locations. There are even surveillance cameras that monitor how often students check their phones or yawn during classes. These gadgets have alarmed Chinese netizens. But schools say it wasn't hard for them getting parental consent to enroll kids into what is one of the world's largest experiments in AI education. A program that's supposed to boost students' grades while also feeding powerful algorithms.
为了就是国家的这个研究呀、发展呀，我觉得是没有问题的。
The government has poured billions of dollars into the project, bringing together tech giants, startups, and schools. We got exclusive access to a primary school a few hours outside of Shanghai.
2、3，同学们早上好。
To see firsthand how AI tech is being used in the classroom. For this 5th grade class, the day begins with putting on a brainwave sensing gadget. Students then practice meditating.
现在，想象我们眉心有一点柔和的光芒绽放。
The device is made in China and has 3 electrodes, 2 behind the ears and 1 on the forehead. These sensors pick up electrical signals sent by neurons in the brain. The neural data is then sent in real time to the teacher's computer. So while students are solving math problems, a teacher can quickly find out who's paying attention and who's not.
说明这段时间他是有点在那走神的。
A report is then generated that shows how well the class was paying attention. It even details each student's concentration level at 10-minute intervals. It's then sent to a chat group for parents.
就是他可以看到每个人的评分。
The reports are detailed, but whether these devices really work and what they exactly measure isn't as clear. We were curious if the headbands could actually measure concentration, so one of our reporters tried on the device.
但我没有感觉自己特别集中。
This is a new technology with still fairly little research behind it.
Theodore Zanto is a neuroscientist at the University of California, San Francisco. He was surprised to learn that this tech, called electroencephalography, also known as EEG, is being used in the classroom on children. It's usually used by doctors in hospitals and labs.
EEG is very susceptible to artifacts. And so if you are itchy or just a little fidgety, or the EEG wasn't set up properly so that the electrodes didn't have a good contact, affects the signal.
Despite the chances for false readings, teachers told us the headbands have forced students to become more disciplined.
上课回答我的问题，就是他们的声音会比平常更响亮。
Teachers say the students now pay better attention during class, and that has made them study harder and achieve higher scores.
上课认真听讲，作业做的基本上是全对的。
But not all students are as enthusiastic. This 5th grader, whom we caught dozing off in class, told us his parents punish him for low attention scores. And that kind of data adds a new kind of pressure for students.
想啊，如果在一次考试全班人都考了95分以上，就你考了一个85，你会不会感觉你有一种
Companies we interviewed said the data can go to government-funded research projects. We spoke to parents who were unclear about where the data ended up. and they didn't seem to care too much. Santos says there's likely no privacy protection at all.
In a classroom, if you're trying to make an assessment of an individual student, you really can't anonymize it.
Experts and citizens alike are sounding alarms about various aspects of the country's huge push into artificial intelligence. These classrooms are laboratories for future generations. And while these new tools may potentially help some 200 million students raise their grades, just how this all works out won't be apparent until they become adult citizens.
So what's next? What's next? Well, this is the part where I want to get you thinking and tell you a little bit about what we're working on at Cortical. Our goal, in a sense, is beyond restoration. When I was at DARPA, the challenge was, how can we heal the infirmities of the damaged mind? Loss of eye, loss of ear, stroke, neurological deficit, Parkinson's. But I think thinking beyond that, the next generation, so for you technologists who are developing the next generation of processors and switches and memories and neural networks and learning systems, our goal is to free the mind from the limitations of even healthy bodies. What might come beyond restorative prosthetics, whether it's digital telepathy, being able to read out what someone is intending to communicate or communicating directly with them electronically through one of these interfaces. I talk about virtual reality, where you could begin writing information displayed directly into your senses without any other machinery than your implant. That's coming. And there have already been experiments in animals of collective cognition, of monkeys with their prefrontal cortices wired together so that together they can do a task better than any 3 individual monkeys. It's coming for us too. It's not really a question of if this is going to happen anymore, because we're already building the machinery to do it. Within 3 years, we expect some of this to be working. What do you think is going to happen to written and spoken language when instead of just looking at the phonemes at the auditory cortex level, we can begin to look higher in your object representation level in your brain? What does telecom and media look like when we can have digital APIs not just to audio and video, but to your actual senses and emotions? What does your relationship with your spouse look like? So, our goal is to be able to solve problems we couldn't solve by integrating the senses, by embodying fundamental cognitive abstractions in how the patterns of the brain work, and to be able to anticipate and imagine future consequences. But that simple set of 3 advancements, even if they're not superbly functional in their first iteration, is kind of the rudiments of having value judgment and ethics. So the machinery that we need are the processors, the graph representation, the systems to emulate and understand and implement temporal codes to be able to represent these abstractions. Now, once we can emulate one of those abstractions, we can start to spawn recursive versions of it. So one AI instance can begin to spawn other AI instances and anticipate how your own actions and decisions influence others. And I would argue that this is the root of digital empathy. And fundamentally, in order to be able to transcend the current AI systems, which today are more or less tools that we use, and embody them with sufficient trust that they can anticipate the consequences of their actions, they can recognize what's good and bad for them and others, we won't be able to move into an actor that we trust. But here I'm going to leave you with my last provocative suggestion, that when you think of yourself as a conscious being, what is the root of that consciousness? And I've been working on this for the last year, that I think that the fundamental mechanism that underlies all the complexity is the future prediction of your conscious state. The machine is not magical. It's something that's just continually estimating what you're about to feel, what you're about to see, what you're about to hear. And if you take this action, what do you expect to happen? That is consciousness. I don't think it's any more complicated. So I think, and I'm being very careful here, I'm not suggesting that we're going to go out and make a conscious machine. But if we can make an artificial machine that can begin to appreciate some aspects and embody some aspects of ethics and consequence and earn trust, that's when I think AI is really going to be powerful. Yeah.
Charlie Demergen, Semi-Accurate.
Yeah.
Have you or do you have any plans to test any of these implants on yourself? And if not, why not?
That's a great question. Rev 1, probably not. There's a natural dynamic of risk-reward depending on what sort of a deficit you have. The early implants, require invasive surgery, and the FDA wouldn't even let that happen to someone unless there was a tremendous benefit to be earned for the risk. So the early people are the paralyzed, the paraplegic, the blind, and so on. But we do fully expect that every year they'll become more integrated, less invasive, and eventually non-invasive. And at that point, there's no FDA involved anymore, and you can imagine, in maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5 generations of having a general brain implant that's accessible without a regulatory process.
The mark of the beast will come in 3 forms. 1. The mark. Or 2. The name. Or 3. The number. Revelation chapter 13, verse 17. And that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. The Greek for 666 in the Strong's Concordance is, reference G5516, with the cross-reference to, G4742. G4742 is the Greek word, stigma, a mark incised, or punched, for recognition of ownership.